Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Friday the 13th. It's race number 12 at Remington Park. Kentucky Derby points on the line, Mike Beer, in the Remington Springboard Mile. Let's throw up the field to these 2-year-olds, and we have got a big full field going the 2-turn mile at Remington Park. Speed King, 7-2 on the morning line. Why not? Nice debut effort at Churchill Downs, but it was sprinting. 82 Beyer speed figure for that performance. That's tops in the field.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm sure there's a Derby horse in here, Dan. Derby King, I liked his debut quite a bit. I mean, I thought he was very handy in that race. He was staying on pretty well, even though he didn't change his lead here. We'll see if he stretches out.
Looked like he beat a pretty solid field. We know he has speed. And in Mary Rampolini's race advance for DRF, she had an opportunity to talk to Ron Moquette. And Ron says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to the front. He agrees with Timeform US's assessment. Here's the pace projector for the Remington Springboard Mile. Speed King expected to make the lead, but see that red bar? Could be a fast pace, and that could help the number 1 Cole Battle. Note the LP flag over Cole Battle's chiclet. This guy who's 2 for 2 on dirt, he has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating.
Should get a decent trip from the rail too. The one here, Dan. We'll see. The pace to me was pretty hard to decipher. There are so many horses stretching out in here. And certainly could get fast, but that 3 Speed King, he did show a lot of speed in his debut.
And before I forget, remember to access those free formulator past performances for the Springboard Mile on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Take a gander and handicap along with us. We'll start things off with Cole Battle. 2 starts on dirt, 2 wins, and scored around 2 turns last time out, going 6.5 at Delta Downs. It's a very wet track in the Jean Lafitte Futurity. Cole Battle's still a little bit green, as you see, drifting out in the stretch, but he's just too good for this group.
Don't love that he was drifting out there, but it was only briefly, and then he straightened himself right up there, and he won this race easily. I also just appreciated the fact that he had trouble on the first turn of this race when a horse sort of dropped over on him. He had to cross over that horse's heels and drift way out on the first turn. He overcame that. He overcame that little miscue in the stretch. He won easy. He got a competitive figure for that effort. His debut, I know it was a 5 furlong race, Dan. It was another wet track. He was pretty impressive winning that race too with a 4-5 wide trip. I mean, there's a chance this horse can really go with these horses.
Showed the ability to sit off those fast pace last time out, those fast fractions, and kick on home. Could be a similar situation here. Trip is going to be so important in this race with a full field going a mile and a short run into the first of 2 turns. Blue Angel is one of 2 in here for trainer Steve Asmussen, who's won the Springboard Mile about 1 million times. Blue Angel's got a really nice pedigree. He's by Gun Runner. He's a half to Kinetic Sky. I know you're familiar with him. He's a stakes winner in New York. Blue Angel wins his career debut as the favorite, and he's pretty game battling in between horses, and the 3rd place finisher would come back to place with a 59 Beyer speed figure, which is kind of good news because Blue Angel only got a 34.
The figure just makes him really hard to get behind in here, Dan, and also just the fact that when you go back and watch the full replay, I mean, this guy, he worked really, really hard to win that race in slow time. We'll see if he's better than that. It was a wet track. Maybe he needed one. It was 6.5 too for a first-time starter. That can be pretty hard. He's hard to like just off of the one race, but Asmussen pointing him here might mean something.
But he's bred, and I just have a feeling he's going to get better around 2 turns. Maybe this is too much too soon, but down the road, maybe he'll continue to improve as the distances increase and he benefits from maturity. Speed King is the number 3, 82 Beyer speed figure. Sure didn't run like a 22-1 shot when winning his career debut at Churchill. The runner-up came back and placed with an 83 Beyer speed figure. Speed King showed big speed, as Mike mentioned, didn't change leads in the stretch. How much does that bother you when they stretch out?
I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's only his first start, Dan. I'm not gonna go overboard on it. This horse ultimately, the debut overall, he did a lot of good things in there. He didn't make the lead right from the gate, but he just sort of cruised up and took over on the backstretch. And when you watch, I mean, I think it's worth watching the stretch run too, because he didn't change leads. He was sort of digging in there, and he wasn't getting away from those horses. Which initially I thought, I wonder if this horse is going to stretch out. But then you watch him pass the wire. And he ran right through the line. He just kept going around that far turn. They didn't get anywhere near this horse on the gallop out. So maybe he will stretch out. I do think he's talented.
Boy, trainer Brett Calhoun's done good work for a long time, and he's got one of the home court edge horses in here in the 4 Dominant Spirit, who looked good graduating, going 5/8 of a mile. I thought he ran really well when he was beaten as the favorite last time out in the Clever Trevor. I know the horse that beat him is in here, but that was a very fast pace. He did all the dirty work, and he dropped a decision by less than a length. Now he's going to stretch out. He's by one of your favorite stallions, Mohayman.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess he's got enough pedigree to stretch out, right? I will say this. I can't say that I loved this Clever Trevor. It did look like his rider wanted to get off the inside up the backstretch and sort of stalk from the outside, but he had a horse there and he couldn't do it. So he was sort of forced to go up the rail. And then he just wound up contesting the pace all the way around the turn and through the stretch. So he actually did some good things in there, and he was a really good second. He's got to improve off of that.
Brooklyn Alley Cat, the number 5, has really taken his game to another level since stretched out around 2 turns. A maiden win on turf, and then this victory going the mile at Remington in a first level allowance. Now, there was a pace collapse in this race. The first 2 finishers, they're both back in this race. They come from last and next to last, respectively, to complete the exacta. You probably have to say they were aided by the pace. The good news is they're probably going to be aided by another good pace.
Yeah, the race shape was really good for these 2 horses. And Brooklyn Alley Cat, as you saw there, as they came to stretch down, he went around to the outside. That runner up there, Kino, who's back in here, stayed towards the inside and got through, got to save a little more ground. But this horse was just better at the end. The race set up great for them. It might set up great for them again. They'll both have to get faster.
Essay is the number 6, and he was listed as a first-time gelding leading up to his most recent start. This is a nominators a 2-life allowance going 5.5 furlongs, and Essay showed good tactical speed, latched right onto the pace setter turning into the stretch, and I like the short comment, determined. It's exactly what Essay was. He writes his own story into the winner's circle. The problem is we've tried him twice against Stakes Company, one against turf at Kentucky Downs. You don't have to fault, but the Kip DeVille wasn't very good.
Yeah, he didn't run well the one time they tested him. He's got wins now at 5 and at 5.5 while showing speed. This pace is probably going to be pretty fast, and he's going to have to carry it a lot longer than he has so far.
Jolly Samurai is the number 7. He is a perfect 3 for 3 in his career. And I like how the Texas bred is slowly stretching out in distance from 5.5 to 6 to 7. Now he's going to prove he's not a closing sprinter. Let's watch the Clever Trevor last time out. He comes from way off of a fast pace to beat 3 of these. Dominant Spirit on the lead in the stretch. He's going to end up finishing second, but you got to like the way Jolly Samurai's been finishing up his races, and he earned a Fig 2 back.
Yeah, he's a really good finisher going short. These horses, they're the toughest ones to evaluate, and when they stretch out, because they don't always deliver the same kick going long that they are able to deliver going short. Obviously, if this horse can do it, he's a major player here, and he's supposed to have a setup. But there's always the chance that he's not going to stretch out, and it's not like he's going to be a great price in here.
And that was Jolly Samurai winning the Kip DeVille 2 starts back. His Clever Trevor was a very similar performance from off of the pace. Complex Music is the number 8. Now, like Essay, this is a horse that's tried Stakes Company twice, once on turf, hasn't passed that test just yet, but maybe his last race is a sign that he's slowly figuring it out. This is now there's a 2-life allowance sprinting at Horseshoe Indianapolis, and this horse got a really nice trip. He just parked himself off the 2 speeds in the 3 path, made a bid to the lead, and he just turns on the afterburners the final 16th of a mile. It's not like this pace was blazing. So I think all in all, he got a very good trip. He is going to stretch out. You have to respect Asmussen at a price, at least in this race.
Yeah, you do, especially if this horse is going to be a price, and we'll see how they wind up betting it. I mean, he certainly took a huge step forward in that last race, and I think it's notable too, Dan, that he delivered that effort on short rest. It almost feels like Asmussen knew this horse was getting good. He put him right back in the box last time, and he really blew that field out with a figure.
Dr. Ruben M. is down from Southern California for trainer Doug O'Neill, and he graduated in his 4th lifetime start, going a 2-turn mile at Santa Anita, and he did so using speed. Edwin Maldonado tried to break the race open right here at the 3/16 pole. It's looking good for Dr. Ruben R., and all of a sudden, it's going to start to get a little bit worrisome for Dr. Ruben R. fans. He is noticeably tired, but the wire comes in the nick of time.
Yeah, he's getting tired here. He's starting to drift off the inside, but he had such a big cushion there through the stretch. They couldn't catch him. He did go pretty fast early in that race, though, Dan. He's probably going to have to go fast again in here. It's unproven so far that he can be effective without the lead. So, a fast pace could really work against this horse, but it feels like they shipped him into a pretty good spot.
And the runner-up from that last race has come back to do some good things. Second in a maiden special at Del Mar, earned a 77 Beyer speed figure. Medicine Dog is a well-bred gelding by constitution. His dam was a Grade 2 stakes winner in New York, but she was more of a sprinting type. And now Medicine Dog's going to have to stretch out around 2 turns for the first time. The debut was good, but it was for a $30,000 tag. Taken out of that race, this horse needs to improve. Maybe the blinkers spark it.
Yeah, he actually, though, I mean, listen, if you just want to base it off the Clever Trevor, where he faced a couple of these horses, and I think a couple of horses near who are contenders in this race, it's not like he was embarrassed by them. He didn't have, some kind of big excuse. He got a good trip in there. He had dead aim through the stretch, and he, wasn't quite good enough, but he was hanging around there inside the 16th pole. He was pretty bad last time, but man, short price and everything. I always want to be a little lenient. Dropping back from 7 to 5.5, man, that is not easy to do.
The 11 is Mr. Omaha. This is an Oklahoma bred coming into this race on a roll on the back of 3 consecutive victories, all against state-bred stakes competition. Here's the win last time out. First time 2 turns going a mile over a sloppy track. He wins as much the best, but you just have to wonder what he's been beating. You look at the horses that have come out of this race so far. They haven't acquitted themselves very well. It's a big step up in class and a tough post position.
Yeah, in other words, he doesn't really change his lead through the stretch there, but he's just galloping here through the. I don't think that had anything to do with his performance in there. He buried that field. He showed that he could stretch out. If there's a wet track in play, he showed he can handle that. He's also shown that he can race up close to the pace if he has to, or make a little bit of a run from off of it if he has to. I mean, this horse isn't hard to make a case for, Dan, and he might be a fair price.
We saw Keno finish second to Brooklyn Alley Cat in that first level allowance race, coming from well off for the pace. And that's just his style, 1. And 2, this post position is just going to force Jermaine Bridgemahan's hand. He's not going to want to be aggressive and lose ground going to the first turn. It's sort of break, take him back to last, save as much ground as possible, and hope for the best. Distance is going to be this horse's friend, though.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I don't know, man, I kind of wanted to like him a little bit. His Clever Trevor isn't great. I don't think it's as bad as it looks on paper, man. He got slammed at the start of that race and wound up last and tried to sort of make a run into it before he got tired through the stretch. He just didn't really run well enough last time to make me want to bet him back against this field.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, Springboard Mile, Kentucky Derby qualifying points on the line. Coal Battle looks to make it 3 for 3 on dirt. And breaking from the inside in a fast-paced race, I think the jock just lets him break, hopes to avoid a little bit of pinching going into the first turn and maybe get out and make a strong run.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like he can get the right trip from the rail. We'll see. He's probably going to need that. But I like both of his dirt races enough to sort of feel like he could contend with these horses. And I do think he's going to be a fair price.
I agree with Timeform US that I think this pace could be really solid. I could certainly see the 3 and the 9 going out there and producing some quick fractions. Complex Music's going to have to prove it, stretching out in distance, stepping up in class. It is Asmussen in this race. I just think a good trip in the second flight is coming. And as you mentioned, maybe just Steve wheeling him back on short notice last time was a sign that perhaps he had this race in mind down the road if he got through. 1398 for Mike, 8391 for me. It's the $300,000 Remington Springboard Mile, race 12 at Remington Park on Friday. Good luck. Hey, let me give you a hot tip. If you liked the content that you've seen before, click on the like and subscribe button right here. And of course, for more DRF videos like Race of the Days, stakes previews, click on the videos right here.